I'm going to be taking on the challenge of building a massive Ninjago MOC, bigger than any Ninjago MOC you've ever seen. And the MOC I landed on was Chen's Island. This massive island from Season 4 is jam-packed with a ton of details and scenes from the show. Creating this out of my own bricks is going to be extremely challenging, and on top of it all, I have to get all the elemental masters. Let the challenge begin. With these MOCs, I have to start somewhere. And this being so massive, I think it's time we just start at the drawing board. So today's gonna be a big day. The first thing is I'm gonna go through and watch a ton of Ninjago. Second thing I need to do is get a bunch of concept art pictures. And the third thing is gonna definitely be the most difficult, and this is making a bunch of stickers for this island. And there's one more big thing I'm gonna be doing, but let's wait till the end of the video for that. So let's sit down and watch some Ninjago. Just finished with episode 2, and this is like the courtyard. So you have, there's a little walkway coming in that will probably make another little section coming out front. There we go, we have Karloff right there. So now it's time to move on to episode 3. Yesterday, you said tomorrow, so just do it! Just got done watching episode 3. Man, that looks like a piece of pizza with the jade blades sticking out of it. And then another thing we have to make is where Kai and Ash had their fight. We have to make a cherry blossom tree. And let's move on to episode 4. I just got done with episode 4, 5, 6, and 7. We'll make little entrance ways right here and here. And this will be, of course, the factory. Drawing is not my strong suit, but I also know how to draw with a pen now. Now it's time to move on to a concept art board. We need a bunch of concept art, and thankfully, while I was watching all these episodes, I was just taking a bunch of screenshots, and I counted up here. I have 139 screenshots. I just got done ordering all my Snapfish pictures. In the meantime, I've got to go get a big board that I can stick all these on. So it's time to go to Walmart. And I did this too. Bruh. So I have my board right here, and I have all my little thumbtacks. And now all we need is all the pictures, and then we'll have an awesome board. So now instead of looking at our phones at all these pictures, all we'll have to do is go to our concept art board, pull off a picture, and we can look at it and build away. So that is a big step in the right direction. Lego uses stickers to show tiny little details, and I feel like that would be perfect to make Chen's Island even more detailed. I went on to Affinity Publisher and worked for like 3 hours designing different stickers. I ordered them all on Snapfish. It's time to get working on the stickers. Glue stick and scissors. The first step to making stickers is cutting them all out. The circles are definitely kind of tedious. And I also cut out these Anachondrite banner symbols. Now it's time to get the glue stick out and load these things up with glue. I put glue on all the pieces and put them on their perspective tiles. So for starters, I was able to make a couple ramen noodle containers. Then we have carpet pieces for Jay, Lloyd, Kai, Cole, Skylar, and Griffin Turner, and a round logo for each of them too. And these will be going in their rooms. For Kai's room, I got a picture of himself. For Skylar's room, I got that picture of Master Chen on her wall. And then I also made a banner of that massive, terrifying looking snake. And probably my favorite stickers are these bracket stickers so that the elemental masters can see who they're fighting in the next challenge. Now that we're done with 3 of the major things, it's time to move on to the last thing. And this is ordering a bunch of parts off Bricklink that we'll need for this island. Alright, so we got our package in the mail. Lego haul! And of course, for all the buildings and structures in Chen's Island, I got 50 brick pieces. I also got 10 more leaf pieces. And then I got 30 more of these tiny, smaller leaf pieces, which I already have a ton of. Got a bunch of these little green pole pieces, and this will be used for bamboo if we ever need bamboo in our MOC. Another super nice detail piece is going to be these red pole pieces. I got 20 of them. And then finally, the thing I'm most excited about in this package is 230 of these rounded hump pieces that we're gonna use for the roof. So at the beginning of the video, I literally had no clue what I wanted to make for this challenge. And now we have concept art. I've got a bunch of awesome pieces I'll need and a ton of really cool stickers. Today, I'm gonna get some of the most rare Ninjago minifigures on the planet. And this is the Elemental Masters. This picture right here is beautiful, and the goal is to recreate it, no matter what the cost.
Why is that so expensive?
Another thing I need to do is plan out all the other minifigures I need for my Chen's Island MOC. Let the challenge begin right now. We are at my computer now, and it's time to go shopping. I spent at least 4 hours trying to get the best deals on Bricklink and find exactly what I needed. It was hard, strenuous, and afterwards, my keyboard was dripping wet with sweat. For $115 later, there's only one more thing to do.
2, 1, drop it.
Mail montage!
Bruh.
Now that we have all the pieces for my minifigures, we can start working on the Elemental Masters. For Bolobo, we're going to give him his plant staff, and we're also going to rip off that very childish face he has and put on this awesome face with a big mustache. His face looks pretty good from the front side, but if you turn this face around, it looks like an absolute nightmare. Now for Gravis. In the Lego set, he has purple gravity pieces, but to make him a little bit cooler, I took the purple domes off and put on some white domes. And for Midget Bob Ross,
let's just make a happy little sky here.
We'll give him this awesome guitar that he's playing. Now, Karloff and Camille look pretty good, and it's time to move on to Skylar. Skylar is an awesome minifigure, and I also got her ninja mask, and I got a orange hood that we can put on. Shade, another super awesome minifigure. This guy has like really gray skin and super nice combed over hair and dual molded legs, which is awesome. Ash is such a cool minifigure, and the amount of detail he has on his torso and his legs is crazy. He also comes with some sick sand blue hair. Now it's time to build quite possibly my favorite Elemental Master, and this is Griffin Turner. This guy is so cool with his sweep back hair, his sunglasses. He has a rotating head, but come on, who is gonna use this head over the head with awesome red shades? The body is really cool, and I love how he has a ninja star with a clock inside of it. This minifigure is awesome and definitely worth like the $15 I paid for him. We have Mr. Invisible, and this guy is absolutely drip with money. He's got a red jacket, and his t-shirt underneath is just printed money. And then he's got a gold chain around his neck. Either this guy steals for a living, or somehow he became a millionaire. Now it's time for the last two Elemental Masters. For Toxita, my brother already had the minifigure, so that was pretty easy. And now for probably the hardest minifigure, Nero. Now you can find him for like $80 to $100. I think I can make a pretty sick custom minifigure of this. I got dark gray legs, I got Obi-Wan's body and ripped the arms off. Then I put dark gray arms on that. I got this cool gamer's head. For the hair, I got swept back white hair and painted a black streak down the center of it. I am attempting to make all of Chen's Island, and just having the Elemental Masters would definitely not be enough. I want to try to recreate almost every single different character you see on the island. So let's start with the ninja. I got Kai, Lloyd, Jay, and Cole. And to mix things up a bit, I took off all their hair and gave them their original hair just to give that nostalgic vibe. For Kai, I gave him some fire in his hand. I gave Lloyd and Jay jade blades. And then for Cole, I gave him this massive cake that he's holding. I had to make Bathtub Jay.
You're welcome!
We're also gonna make Nia in her samurai form. We also got that dress from the Bricklink order, and we're gonna make Kabuki Nia using Harumi's head. I also gave her some fans. Another half tube for this MOC is Derek, and I gave him a broom. I also built that 6 Sensei Garmadon minifigure with an Anaconda tattoo on his shoulder. This island is basically owned by villains and covered with villains, so we need a lot of villains. We're gonna start off with Master Chen, and we're gonna give him that awesome elemental staff. I actually use a transparent green head instead of a red one like the Lego set has. We're also going to get my awesome custom Anaconda Chen that my friend Rick Kenobi gave to me. I'm also gonna build 2 Anaconda drummers, and if you have no clue what I'm talking about, when they walk into Chen's Island for the first time, there's a bunch of guys just hammering down on drums, and I'm gonna make 2 of them. And then I gave them little wand pieces so they could absolutely be tearing it apart with those drums. And of course we need a couple of classic Anaconda warriors. I gave one of them this really cool sword, and I gave another one the key to Zane's cell. I also made this other sinister looking Anaconda warrior. And of course, we need Klaus with his evil spell book. Oh no, the only page in the book is missing. Who could have it?
Bruh.
On Chen's Island, there's a whole level beneath it where we have a noodle factory, and I want to make minifigures for this area. Our first minifigure is going to be Zane. I gave him his older titanium Zane head and then put on the newer hair. But remember, don't look at the back of this guy's head because it just looks weird. With my Bricklink purchase, I got 4 prison suits. We're gonna get one of the prison suits and make another variant of Karloff. We're gonna get another prison suit and make it a variant of Cole, 2 other of the prison suits, and put tiny orange legs on one of them so that we can make Jacob and Gravis in prison clothes. Now there's one minifigure that I've been wanting for a long time, and this is totally covered with flour, Cole. The only problem was the head had no printing on it. So I had to do an extremely tedious job of painting on little tiny details to make up Cole's head. And once I was done, it looked pretty accurate to what Cole actually looks like. So we've done it, guys. Now since I have all the Elemental Masters, I can recreate this picture that I wanted to recreate for so many years. So I got a base plate and set my minifigures up. Then I put it behind my computer screen and got a desert background.
Wow!
And now we have basically a copy of that picture in real life. Today was an extremely productive day. We made 33 minifigures and all the Elemental Masters. Today, me and 3 of my brothers are going to tackle a massive challenge of building Chen's Island. It's going to be huge, and I'm not actually sure if we have enough pieces. Let the challenge begin right now. We have a ton of Lego here, ready to build Chen's Island.
When we got together to figure out who would do what part, I was given the Snake Pit, Dareth's Cave, and a couple of the tournaments between the champions. So let's get building. It all starts with this. It's a super useful piece. Plus, it gets the perfect angle for this segment we're gonna build. So we started off with those and a Technic substructure, figuring out where exactly these A-frame pieces needed to go. The first thing I'm starting with is the Snake Pit. And I love snakes, so this might turn out to be one of my favorite parts of the whole thing. I scattered lots of bones around this area. I also added a couple poles with Mia in there. The walls for the Snake Pit were made of the nougat bricks, a lot of which you can find in the bookstore modular building. I also tiled off the floor, and also a couple strips of black tiles around to look like reinforcement on the walls. The pillars holding up the ceiling are actually snot built. The snake was so much fun to build, and probably my favorite thing about it is the tongue. Red flare piece. I actually made the snake segmented so that part of him can fit in my section, and another part, the tail, can come out in Brick Legend's center section. Then we began on the mountain. Honestly, I think this went through almost all of my gray slopes. As I'm building it, I'm going to mix in a lot of green just to give it that mossy, overgrown look. For the water, I'm using the same technique as they do in the Ninjago City sets. As for the waterfall, I decided to build my own out of bricks. It has lots of texture, makes it look like the water is actually flowing downward. I love the versatility of Lego bricks. The first one I'm going to work on is the Nero and Blobo fight around this massive rock. Around the rock is this sort of a Zen garden, so it has all these little patterns on the floor. So I'm using a lot of circular plates. I capped off with a J-blade, added Blobo and Nero, and now they can fight. Going farther up the mountain, I'm adding a patch of bamboo. Under the waterfall, I'm going to add the cave where Dareth and Nia hide out with the Ninja DBX. This thing isn't quite big enough to actually hold the Ninja DBX, so we're just going to have Dareth in there, jamming away on his broom. Finally, we reached the top of the mountain. Here I really want to challenge myself to build a good-looking cherry blossom tree. The base of this I kind of based off the bonsai tree that Lego actually made. I'm adding tons of little branches that we can attach all the pink cherry blossom leaves to. All in all, I think this tree turned out pretty well. We can add the jade blade on top, and Gravis and Griffin Turner can fight. Last but most definitely not least, we need to make this look like a jungle. One of my favorite things was the flower I built using the orange leaf pieces, the eggshell, and the cherry sticking out the top. And now we have one of the coolest battles. We have Garmadon and Klaus battling it out. I'm actually going to take a transparent purple piece from one of my old spinner sets, but it has some printing on it, so I'm going to have to go clean that off first. After doing that, I finished the portal with some black spikes circling around it and attached it to the base. And with that, my section is complete. We are going to be building the center section of Chen's Island. I filled a 48 by 48 area with a big Technic structure, and then I covered it with dark tan plates. In this show, there are a bunch of trapdoors all over Chen's Island. When you fall into one, you go down into underground dungeons. The first thing I'm going to make is 3 prisons, but I'm going to use these really cool wooden doors. Inside the first prison, I'm going to put a spider web with some spiders crawling over the place. The second prison is going to be the one where Zane is held captive. Now, there's no way of escaping. But wait, in the next prison, we're actually going to build Pixel. Well, not necessarily Pixel, a bunch of different parts from Pixel. And in the show, Pixel kind of rescues Zane. Now I need to make a whole structure all the way around. Then I made a bunch of 7 stud long cave panel pieces to go along the wall. From the outside, it looks pretty bad. We're gonna have other modulars covering each side, so you won't really be able to see that. I also added 3 doors.
3, 2, 1.
For the center section, I put an off-limits zone work area there, and we'll get to that later. After much trial and error, repositioning Technic pieces, I was finally able to add 2 Technic trapdoors. Now it's time to work on the courtyard. So I ran upstairs and stole my mom's bonsai tree, dumped out all the little pebble pieces, and started covering the courtyard with these detail pieces. Leading up to the main building, we're going to make a cool purple and gold walkway. I made 2 little stone areas where they can plant trees. One more thing I want to add to this courtyard is this green dragon lion statue, but now it's time to move on to the most challenging part of this. I have to build 3 different buildings. I decided to start with the center building. This would kind of be the throne room. For the walls, the main color is going to be light gray, and then I'm going to use details. I wanted to build a cool snake pattern out of cheese wedges and different pieces like that on the floor. So me and my brother Jonathan are going to challenge ourselves who can build the best one. His honestly looks way better. So I gave up and let him install his cool snake pattern into the floor. The first thing we need to tackle is Chen's massive chair. Sadly, I only was able to add 4 buttons.
Bruh.
For the second layer, I got out a ton of my tan pieces and started building around. Along on the front and the back, I put 2 red lattice windows. Inside, I put this giant bell that the Anaconda Warriors absolutely pound on. I got out the 200 little hump pieces I had ordered from Bricklake. I attached those to the roof, and then I made 4 columns coming down to cover up those little gaps in between. Then I added another row of little window frames. Finally, I made another little roof on top and put 2 Anaconda banners. The building on the right is where all the ninjas have their super fancy dorm room suites. And the first room is going to be a bit of a lobby area with some stairs going up to the next floor. Then you can open up a rice paper door and go into Lloyd's suite. So for every one of the suites I make, I've got a carpet piece for the floor and then their emblem that I can put on the wall. I made different beds for Lloyd, Kai, Skylar, and Cole.
Wow.
For these next 2 rooms, I added rice paper doors on the front with little balconies coming off. I used gold nozzle pieces as railing. So the room on the left is Kai's, putting in this cool lattice wall, and then I moved to Skylar's room. If you remember in this show, there are actually little peek holes in Chen's eyes.
now it's time to move on to the next level. For Cole's room, he's got a totally stone bed and then a cabinet full of delicious desserts and foods. I also added the carpet and a little dresser. Then moving on to Jay's, this was a super fun one. I had to add a hot tub jacuzzi in the corner. I added a TV and a super cool chair using these cool angle pieces. But for the roof of this building, this one was highly inspired by the Temple of Air Jitsu, and I added some gold trim details along the front. The cafeteria was pretty easy and looks basically the same as the bottom layer of the dorm room, with light gray going along it. But inside, I made some booths where people can sit, a nice buffet, because this is a 5-star cafeteria.
What's the matter with you?
I made a little awning using next to my shields, which looks really cool. The next level was Klaus's spellbook room, and I also put on that cool sticker of that giant snake. My favorite part of this room was this really cool bookcase I made. Now it's complete and it's time to work on the final roof here. I also added lattice pieces along the very top for detail, and now it's time to add the final touches to this whole area. So around on the back, I made a giant tree to make it look like it was kind of going into jungle. For the final touch, we need to add some brick walls going up along either side. I decided to go with dark tan and olive green bricks. Now this was complete. Now it's time to see what Jonathan will build.
I'm Jonathan, and I'm going to be building the right side of this MOC, which is a huge mountain with 3 iconic scenes from the season. So like Carlin's part on the opposite side, I had to build a little Technic structure at a 45-degree angle to my main base. After that, I plotted out where I wanted my first scene to be on the bottom layer. Then I started making the rocky cliff face. I used plates to make a layer that I could build on. I made a whole bunch of different types of foliage separately. I made some bamboo. I just had like this pile of plant pieces, and then I just started putting them all over this. Now it's time to turn this MOC around and look at the first scene we have, and that is Chen's Noodle Factory. One of the main pieces I used for building the bulk of these walls were some big sand blue wall panels, and then we started working on some of the factory details. There's like this big machine with noodles coming in from the back and little boxes going by and getting filled in with noodles and coming out the side, ready to be packaged up and sent to Ninjago City. I added in some workers over here on this other part of the wall. I made a really cool function where Cole gets a bunch of flour dumped on him. You can turn the stump up in the jungle and it'll turn Cole to covered in flour instantly. And I built a little walkway kind of going up above it. For those of you who have seen the show and know what I'm talking about, we've got hidden parts of the boulder blaster laying around in this model. Once I was done with the factory, I kept building it up with more rock pieces into another room. And here I built a blue crystal room where Master Chen transforms into an Anaconda warrior. I covered it in tiles. Behind the walls, I built white pieces because that just really helps the blue pop. I made 2 blue pillars with chains hanging from them. So once I built the mountain up, I started working on the last and possibly my favorite scene in this section, and that is the volcano scene where Kai and Ash fight out. So I started experimenting with sideways built panels, and it turned out really good. There are a couple little flames bursting out. On the outside of the volcano, I made a little bit of lava kind of dribbling down the mountainside. And then I started building up the mountain around the volcanic basin. And to do this, I used some kind of special techniques, angling them using mixel joints to just give the mountain a really cool, unique shape. I added a few more trees going up. Down in the volcano, I built a little column that has the jade blade actually stuck in it. And then up above, I used these rope pieces with bars built into them to make a really cool rope bridge. And here we have Kai and Ash getting ready to fight. Yes! Finally, we can add this section to the rest of the island.
Hello, I'm Anthony from the Brick Epic YouTube channel. My part is going to be the dock, the gate, and the front wall. I started out with the base and covered it with transparent blue tiles. And then I started working on the dock area. Around the dock, I added some foliage and some white pieces to look like waves. I used light gray tiles for the steps and dark gray for the rest of it. Both the front and the back of the wall, I just used snot, which means I just put dark tan plates along it. In the show, there are these really cool snake designs on the front of the wall. Recreating this was really hard for me. I ended up using chrome gold pieces that I got from Monkey King's Warrior Mech and created this magnificent snake design. The doors were pretty cool and simple. Surrounding the door is a Chinese pagoda-like facade. Now all we have to do is finish off the top of the wall. I used about 30 or more black window frames, and then inside of there I stuck a bunch of orange lanterns. Brick Legends gave me these awesome Anaconda banner pieces. Now it's complete and we can add it to the island.
We have finally done it. Here we have Chen's Island, an epic, gigantic Ninjago MOC. For perspective, just to give you guys a grasp of how massive this MOC is, we're gonna bring in the Ninjago City now. All right, so here we have the original Ninjago City. Compared to this, it pales in comparison. This would win on height. Chen's Island weighs 28.5 pounds. Like, that's almost as much as my brain weighs. And this tiny Ninjago City only weighs a mere 9 pounds. 3 Ninjago cities like this to even weigh the same amount as this. We didn't count every individual part on this Chen's Island, but we kind of did some math, and this Ninjago City has around 5,000 parts. Times that by 3, you get 15,000 parts. So yes, this would be an extremely expensive Lego set to buy. If Lego was selling this MOC for 10 cents a piece, this would cost $1,500. Let's jump in and focus on this awesome Chen's Island MOC. First things first, we have to look at this massive slew of minifigures we have in this MOC. I counted up earlier and it's 32 minifigures. Hopefully I counted right. So I'm going to try to name off every single one of them without making one mistake. Let's go. We have Nero. Then we have Camille. Then we have Tox, Shade, Bolobo, Ash, Karloff, Mr. Invisible, Griffin Turner, Gravis, Jacob, Zane, Jay, Cole, Lloyd, Kai, Skylar, Klaus, and Anaconda Dude, 2 Anaconda guys who play on drums, and then 2 Anaconda Warriors, and then Anaconda Chen, Normal Chen, Kabuki Nia, Dareth, Normal Nia, Sensei Garmadon, Karloff in prison clothes, Cole in prison clothes, and Cole totally covered with flour. So there we have our 32 minifigures, and I'm very happy we were able to get all these minifigures. But let's get back to the build. So we have kind of 4 big main sections here for this whole Chen's Island. The first one we'll start with is the gate going up. So we've got kind of a dock area coming around the front with a bunch of water kind of surrounding the whole island. And then coming up on the dock, we've got some light gray stairs leading up to this massive detailed door. And my favorite part about this front area, there's massive snake designs swirling around on the front. I also love the little lanterns lining the top with the black window frame doors. That looks really nice. And the pagoda shape on the front makes this whole thing really pop. Going in through these doors, you come to this purple carpet leading up to Chen's palace. The corner area has a ton of little details, and if you come around back here, there are 2 pegs that you can pull and trapdoors fall out. There are also 2 main walls protecting this kind of courtyard area. So let's start with Chen's palace. We're gonna take off this big top building. This island is literally as big as this table, so it's kind of hard to fit stuff everywhere. If we open the door and walk inside, we're met with this beautiful snake carpet on the floor. There's also Chen's massive throne and a dragon statue, and that's where you can put the jade blades once you've recovered them. On the other wall, there's a bracket board to see which elemental masters are fighting the other. The next level going up has these 2 big serpentine banners hanging down into the throne room, and it's basically just a little balcony along the top. We've got a massive gong here and 2 pots, and inside are hidden more jade blades. Then finally, the top roof looks magnificent with all these tile pieces going along the top. We come over to this right building. It's got a cool facade with a bunch of different balconies where you can set the elemental masters on. And outside of it, it's got this cool dragon statue. The first floor has a lobby in it with some stairs going up, a nice flower, a brick-built clock, and if you go through this rice paper door, Lloyd's suite. This has a really cool bed. I love the carpet. So the next room we have here is Kai's and Skylar's different dorm rooms. On the right side, we've got Skylar's dorm room, and it's got 3 different staff pieces. It's got a picture of Chen on the other side, and then of course we've got Kai's room on the other side, which looks extremely fancy. And my favorite room to design had to be Jay's suite. It has this awesome, super nice reclining gamer chair. It also has a nice hot tub, and you can just stick Jay in there and he can just be chilling there all day. Cole's room is also really cool. It's got a pantry full of food and a bunch of other really cool little details. And my favorite part of the roof is along the front we've got some red and gold designs. Then finally, for our last building, we've kind of got the cafeteria. So going through the door, we've got a tiled off red carpet, which looks really nice, with some noodles, a bowl of cereal, and then the cafeteria food is all lined up on this wall over here. There's also a little door going out to a trash can outside. And the next room we have here is Klaus's evil spell room. We have a roof right here using really cool next night shields, and then inside we have a cool bookcase and the book of spells and a super cool picture of this serpentine general guy. And then we have the roof made out of thin wing pieces. Moving around back, we've got a massive tree right over here. So we go out this little door right here, we find ourselves in the midst of a giant jungle. In the jungle, there is a really cool scene where Garmadon and Klaus are fighting over this portal to the cursed realm, and you can see Klaus about to get sucked in there. There's also this massive cool looking tree and some other vegetation and foliage all over the place. Going up the side of this mountain, you can follow this little path where you can see Dareth just jamming out in the cave with his guitar. Over here on the mountain, we've got two elemental masters, Nero and Bolobo, fighting it out over this rock trying to get the Jade Blade. And again, right up here, we have Griffin Turner and Gravis fighting over the Jade Blade in the peach tree. And I love the colors my brother put into this peach tree. It looks so vibrant and beautiful. Now, on the other side of the jungle, we just have more foliage. Some bamboo pieces that look really good, some tree pieces. We used up basically all the green foliage parts we all had. My brother was able to build this mountain so good. It looks so cool, and he was able to use a bunch of techniques where he put on pieces like sideways onto the mountain. And then on the very top, you've got a volcano with the Jade Blade stuck into a rock, and Kai and Ash battling it out on this tiny little rope bridge, which looks like it's gonna break any second. Now that we've kind of covered the outside and facade of this, it's time to turn it around and look at the inside. We'll start with this section right over here. On the bottom, we have this massive snake pit, and my brother built this really cool purple snake, very vicious. He also put a ton of skulls and bones and rib cages. The walls are made up of a nougat color and look really good. There's also two poles down here where you can entrap Nia and Garmadon. Underneath this whole section is this dungeon cave system, which we gotta get to. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this off. Thank you. Woo! This cave section is basically a rock wall around it with tunnels going to different places. Tunnel over here leads to the snake. Tunnel over here leads to the noodle factory. But in the center area, we kind of have this purple staircase going up to who knows where, with some Anacondri warriors pounding away on some drums. And this kind of represents that room where Master Chen takes all the power away from the elemental masters. Back along this wall, we have 3 different prison doors, and they lead into little cells. We have one cell full of spiders, one cell with Zane locked up, and one cell with Pixel, or at least some remains of Pixel. So in the back of this section, we have the noodle factory, probably my favorite underground area, tiled off very nicely with light gray tiles, and it's got a bunch of parts that they're working on to build the boulder blaster. My favorite part is the noodles coming out of the machine, going into little buckets, and then getting dropped into this bigger crate. And there's also another balcony kind of going up to the second floor. Talking about the second floor, going up even higher, we have the crystal room where Master Chen actually turns into an Anacondri warrior. It's a pretty cool room, and we had to add it. Sometimes the challenges that seem the hardest and most impossible are by far the funnest. And that was the case for this one. So thank you guys so much for joining me on this journey that we've been taking to build this massive MOC. And today I challenge you to get out your Lego and think bigger than ever before. What could you build out of your own bricks?
Subscribe.